Hello, everyone, and welcome to another CPC Strategy hosted webinar. If this is not your first event with CPC Strategy, we're happy to see you here again for another webinar. If this is your first time, welcome, and we most definitely hope to see more of you in the future. So all of us here at this webinar today recognize the magnitude of YouTube's reach today and how video really is the future of advertising. So, 70 million people use YouTube monthly before making a purchase. So with numbers like these, it's evident that now is most definitely the time to get familiarized with and kind of start your advertising campaigns on the platform. So, which brings us to today's topic, the performance-minded marketer's guide to YouTube ads. YouTube was once thought to be as like a brand awareness only type advertising platform, but YouTube keeps updating and adding new advertising features that do much more than just get your brand name out there. So we'll be going over these changes more in depth throughout the presentation. First and foremost, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Analicia Santaella. I'm the webinar coordinator here at CPC Strategy. I'll kind of go over some logistics right now. So the number one question we could get is sessions, recording, and slides. Will they be sent out? And yes, sessions, slides, and recording will be sent out to all registrants within 48 hours. Again, if you don't receive this email with a recording, just shoot an email over to me or to webinars at CPC Strategy, and I'll make sure to get that recording page to you all. So questions on our panel, on the GoToWebinar panel on the right, there should be a tab that says questions. That's for you, the audience, to submit all your questions that you may have throughout the presentation. And at the end, we'll have a portion designated to Q&A. So I'll be adding all those questions to a queue so we have them ready to go for the live Q&A towards the end. So another thing to add, we do have another tab in the GoToWebinar panel that's for resources. So these are resources that we've attached, their blog posts, their Google guidebooks to kind of help you navigate the Google Display Network and YouTube and kind of, additional resources for you guys to look through. So another logistic point to ask is that we will have a poll question coming up in a few slides. This will be, to get you ramped up for the content. It also allows our speakers to speak to the audience depending on your expertise level when it comes to YouTube and the advertising platform. So that covers logistics. Again, let me know any technical difficulties, just chat me in the question box. I'll be there throughout the entire presentation. So before we get started, for those of you that are unfamiliar with CPC Strategy, I want to tell you a little bit about our positioning in the e-commerce landscape. So we were founded in 2007, so we're just over 10 years old. We have over 500 active retail clients with a diverse portfolio ranging from CPG to apparel and even some services. But we're a retail-focused paid search management company, and we focus specifically in the realms of Google Shopping, retail-focused paid search, Amazon sales acceleration, creative services, content optimization, as well as Facebook performance marketing. So now I would like to present to you all our speakers today. We have Josh Briska, who's a Senior Manager of Retail Operations at CPC Strategy, and L'Oreal Hoffer, hopefully I said that right, L'Oreal, who's our Agency Account Strategist at Google. So Josh, do you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Josh. Been with CPC just under 6 years and been in the e-com space just under a decade now. Really excited about YouTube and a lot of the new products and functionalities and features that have been rolling out in the last year or so, really enabling, again, the performance-driven marketer to really succeed within the channel. So really excited to be here today. Thanks everybody for joining, and I'll kick it over to L'Oreal.
Great, thank you, Josh. Hi everyone, so happy to be here today. My name is L'Oreal, and I'm an agency account strategist at Google, and I work very closely with CPC Strategy, and I specialize in YouTube. Prior to working for Google, I worked for Morgan Stanley and a private equity firm. Let me just make sure I'm controlling the slides. Okay, great. Perfect. So CPC Strategy is one of our premier partners among the top 2% of agencies in the US. Google has recognized its potential, so we staff teams to support its growth. We offer tailored product recommendations, access to betas and PMs, industry and competitive insights that no one else can offer, access to our video ads editing team, and product trainings. If you're curious about our video ads editing team, please ask us during Q&A at the end.
Okay, great. I'm getting a few notifications from the audience saying that they can't see the screen. So I just want to make sure we're showing. That is so bizarre. 1 second. Show screen. We see it. Let's see if we can switch presenter role. Let's see if that changes for everyone. Sorry, Josh. I know that I can see your screen. L'Oreal, I assume you can see Josh's as well.
Yep.
Let me see if I change it to me. Let's see what the audience says. Sorry, everyone, for the technical difficulties. Let's view and present mode. Let's show my screen. Okay. Now, if the audience can tune in and see, let me know if you guys can see the screen as of now. Okay, great. I got some confirmations. Let me pass this over to Josh and see. Okay, Josh, I'm going to pass it on over to you. Let's see. Sorry, we're doing this all over. Okay, great. So everyone can still see? I just need one yes, and then we're all good. Okay, great. Okay, great. Now, Josh, they see your screen. I guess there were some issues before. If you can, I'll go over today's agenda. So what we'll be talking about is the evolution of YouTube as an advertising platform. We'll be, breaking down TrueView for action and the direct response advertising formats that YouTube has now, as well as updates in audience segmentation. We'll go through a CPC strategy case study, as well as a blueprint, a how-to for starting your brand's YouTube advertising campaign. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to L'Oreal, who's going to begin with the evolution of YouTube and where it stands today.
Great, thank you. So let's dive in on why having a presence on YouTube matters. In 2006, Google acquired YouTube, and ever since, it has been a major worldwide destination. Reason number one, the world's internet traffic. 80% will be video content by next year. Reason number two, 1 billion hours of viewing time on YouTube.com every day. There are so many people on the YouTube destination, and they're staying for a very long time to consume video content. Reason number three, results. We're seeing increases in KPI performance, site visits, and branded search as a result of utilizing our YouTube format. Let's talk about how you can utilize YouTube as a powerful platform. Attention, action, and measurement. Oops. So great, we're going to start with attention. The consumption of video and the video landscape has changed drastically. We all know this. We are no longer huddled around a television, all watching the same show that's available on cable. If you are utilizing our TrueView format, you will only pay for true views, hence the name. This means if your user skips your ad, you don't pay. What that means is the beginning of the ad is the most important. You have a small window to capture the user's attention. We want to make sure we front load your brand and the excitement of your brand in your YouTube video at the very beginning.
I just want to reiterate this one again. This is a great point. We're not going to get too much into the creative process here today, but just making sure that the start of your video, any creative that you're putting out on YouTube, the beginning of this is very engaging, is super important, and just going to help you out to be successful on this channel.
Absolutely. Moving on to why this is the best place to capture attention with your video ads. Our leading platform plays videos where you can see them and hear them, instead of charging you for videos that can't be seen or heard. This viewability and audibility creates 2.6 higher consideration, and people pay almost 2x more attention to YouTube ads than social media ads. So in terms of capturing attention, this is a great platform. But it's not just about the amount of time on youtube.com or video formats. It's also knowing what the user wants and what they'll find most useful in a given moment. You'll see here we have our 7 platforms that have over 1 billion active users each. Let me show you an example. On the surface, these 2 users seem very similar. They're actually very different though. Instead of grouping them as 18 to 30-year-old females, we know much more specific insights about them. That means we'll want to cater our message to each and target the one who is most relevant to my business and go after that person more aggressively. Let's dive into how we know so much about this woman. She has downloaded a video editing app on Google Play. She has visited a camera shop using Google Maps. She has searched for the best DSLR on Google Search. And she has watched a camera unboxing video on youtube.com. Google knows that she's in market for a camera from all these signals, and you as an advertiser can leverage her and the other people in the market for a camera. Here's an overview of the audiences that are available to us on YouTube. Affinity and consumer patterns are at the top of the funnel, meaning they have the widest reach. In-market and live events are more specific, moving down the funnel. Custom intent proves people are searching for your keywords. And the other audience solutions, such as similar audiences, remarketing, and customer match, are the most lower funnel. And you're probably already aware of these if you're using them across Google Search and Google Shopping.
Yeah, I just want to jump in again too. The custom intent one is the one that I'm personally most excited about, and it's the first time that you can actually show videos to people on YouTube based off of what they're searching for on the Google search network. So it's pretty amazing that we're able to actually serve videos to people that have search intent already and that have shown that intent explicitly. And so it's really amazing. It's a really super bottom of the funnel tactic, and we're going to cover that in a little bit more detail coming up.
Absolutely. This is one of our new targeting features. So I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, and we'll cover it in greater detail in a few slides. YouTube remarketing. So your first dollar of YouTube investment should go towards a remarketing strategy. For YouTube, we actually have even more remarketing capabilities. This means you can target people who watched your video, who visited your YouTube channel, or visited your website. Customer Match is by far the highest performing audience solution. It's the most lower funnel, and it's because it targets your current customers. This is an absolute no-brainer if you're not using this already, not only on YouTube, but across search and shopping. That summarizes attention and why YouTube can capture attention so well. Let's talk about action next and help you understand how our product suite really drives people to take action. If you haven't heard already, this product suite is called YouTube for Action, formerly known as YouTube for Performance. Our newest ad format is TrueView for Action. What makes it different and powerful is its 3 call to actions throughout the ad, ultimately driving people to your website to take action. This is your new go-to format. I actually don't recommend using the old TrueView format anymore, even if you're doing brand awareness. It's that effective. Let me walk you through an example of an advertiser using a TrueView for Action format on desktop. To make this easy to follow me looking for the blue download button throughout these slides. See if you can spot the 3 call to actions. Here you can see the first format to drive action, the call to action overlay appearing on top of the video ad. To its right, you also see the companion banner on the side. So that's 1 and 2 so far. As the video ends, the call to action overlay will disappear, but the end screen appears. The end screen is the final call to action that drives traffic to your website that appears for 7 seconds at the end of the video. After the video ad is completely over, the companion banner stays visible to the people viewing other video content. So that the end screen is the third of the trio for TrueView for action. And then just to reiterate, the companion banner stays present. So you get that free branding and the opportunity for people to engage in your brand, even when your ad ends. The newest ad extension on YouTube is our location extension. You're probably familiar with this on Google search. If you have store locations, we highly recommend you add this in to drive foot traffic to your stores. And this is what Josh was referring to earlier. Our newest targeting option is Custom Intent. This is the first time we have given you complete control of capturing the audience you want. You create a list of 200 keywords, and Google creates an audience list of people searching for these exact keywords on Google search. The new audience is then applied to your YouTube ad, and that group of people will see your video ad. Do you have anything to add, Josh, before I move on? Because I know you're excited about this one.
Yeah, we'll cover it a little bit more in my part. Yeah,
Great.
when I first heard this coming out, I was, again, really, really excited. Is targeting on YouTube and just display mediums in general. It's all audience based, so we kind of lose some of the aspect of intent-based searches, which is huge for our retailers, especially as we are so performance driven. And this really was just bridge the gap between the search intent and a more visual medium. And again, super excited about it, but we'll cover it some more later too.
Great. One thing I would add is this is a grand slam win for anyone who has really expensive keywords. So for example, lawyers who might have really competitive keywords that are really pricey. This is a way to capture people who are searching for those expensive keywords and then target them later. This is also available on GDN, but it just launched publicly and available for everyone on YouTube over the past 2 weeks. Great, so we covered attention, we covered action, and now let's move on to measurement. If you're working with CPC strategy, you have access to even more YouTube measurement tools through my team. One example is BrandLift, which you've probably heard of, and the other is video experiments. You probably haven't heard of video experiments yet. Let me just go to the next slide. There we go. So video experiments is an open beta. With it, you can test multiple creatives, different audiences, and different video formats. Just to show you a real example, this is where Airbnb tested 2 creative messages with the same audience. So they tried to see which creative their audience liked more before they spent more and scaled this further. Another thing they tested was one creative message. So they had one video ad and tested with different audiences to see which audience cared more and mattered most to your brand.
So it seems like, L'Oreal, this approach kind of takes a lot of the friction out of ad copy and creative testing, if I'm understanding it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just take a step back because I'm assuming most people on this already are aware of BrandLift, but in case you haven't heard of that as well, that is a free measurement tool we have if you are with an agency and have a Google team with you. So on my end, I create the BrandLift study for you, and we launch it simultaneously when we launched your new video campaigns. We're able to gather a lot of data, which I'll go into in the next slide. But this type of market research, I was speaking with a CMO, he said it would have cost him tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a really great free resource that we have if you're running YouTube already or plan to run YouTube in the future. So when we set up our campaigns and either run BrandLift or video experiments, we unlock so much data. We're able to uncover 5 things. 1, we are able to see if our ads caused brand lift. 2, we're able to measure users' watch time. 3, we're able to learn about the demographics of people who liked our ad the most. 4, we're able to see how likely people are to remember our ad or even purchase our products or book our services. And 5, we're able to grow a new audience who we can remarket to. So again, lots of insight for free. In summation, YouTube is an amazing platform because we can reach the right people, convert them on YouTube with our new YouTube for Action product suite that drives action, and measure when a YouTube viewer click actually drives conversion or action. With that, I'll kick it over to Josh.
Awesome, thanks, L'Oreal. So that was a super robust rundown of YouTube, kind of where it came from, where it's at now. Again, it's just getting more and more oriented towards a performance marketer. And so with everything that L'Oreal mentioned, we didn't want to just kind of leave you with the information. We wanted to also walk you through how some of our best practices are for setting up campaigns. So I'll jump into that right now and kind of walk you guys through the blueprint for your YouTube campaign. So first of all, we covered, as you guys can see here, this is the kind of full funnel of all the targeting options that we have on YouTube. For the purpose of today, I'm going to focus on really this bottom of the funnel here, our in-market, custom intent, similar audiences, remarketing, and customer match. I'll be using the in-market example a few times throughout this, as it's just kind of the easiest to split out, and I think easiest to demonstrate what we're talking about from a structural standpoint. So there's basically 4 components to what we're kind of looking at in terms of the ideal campaign structure and how to evaluate things. Number 1, we want to look at the campaign goal and type. It's going to be really static here, as we are using the TrueView for Action format, and that is the best practice, as L'Oreal mentioned earlier. Obviously, your structure, as with any advertising campaign, is going to be very, very important. How you target that, even within your structure, is important, and then creative as well. Again, we're not going to get too much into the actual nitty-gritty of creative process, but we will kind of walk you through a little bit of how to A/B test and how to test out your creative. So starting out with campaign goal and type, number 1, like L'Oreal mentioned, we want to go with TrueView for Action, hands down. We're seeing the best results from it, from an engagement perspective, from a conversion perspective, from a return perspective, and it really is just a performance-driven ad medium that we stand 100% behind. And we do use the TrueView for shopping. In the past, that was, at the time, one of the more lower funnel strategies, but we've really shifted over to the TrueView for Action, as it really even blows out of the water the TrueView for shopping campaign type for most metrics. We do have to use a target CPA as a bidding strategy for TrueView for Action. And when you're actually setting up your campaign, you're going to want to set up your campaign goal as leads or website traffic. That being said, because we are using a target CPA, we are going to be optimizing against conversions. And so those conversions can be anything from a form fill out, a email sign up, obviously an e-commerce conversion, time on site, anything that you'd like to optimize these campaigns against, the target CPA will be able to do that. And just as a pro tip, starting with an average CPA of your non-branded campaigns and how those are actually performing is a general good rule of thumb to start out your beginning bids with. So looking at your ad group structure and your campaign and ad group structure, we really want to align these with your goals and your targeting methods that you have employed. So at the campaign level, you're going to want to use your top targeting method. And this kind of mirrors what we would do on the GDN side of things or on the display side of things. But we're going to want to split out our campaigns by affinity audiences, remarketing, custom intent, in-market. And that's going to be how we segment out our actual campaigns. Then as we drill down into the ad group level, we're going to use one of our more sub-targeting methods. So it's going to be a breakout of affinity audiences, or it's going to be a breakout of our remarketing audiences. Similarly for in-market too, as you see here. So again, campaign level is going to be our top level targeting method. Ad group level, we're going to want to break out the individual sub-targeting methods, so to speak. And when you're targeting, when you're breaking this out, excuse me, we want to go with as granular as possible. Again, we're not trying to sacrifice volume. So when we're breaking things out, say you're a retailer who is selling apparel, you sell men's apparel, women's apparel, and footwear. So a granular structure would be at the ad group level, you're going to have in-market women's apparel, in-market men's apparel, and then in-market footwear. And so you can break things out by actual product type, break things out by gender if you like, but really working to get as granular as possible is always kind of the best bet here. To go along with that, matching your bids with your targeting priority and intent is very important as well. So since we're targeting or using the target CPA methodology here, you're going to want to get most aggressive on your audiences that have the most purchase intent or the most conversion intent. So people that are, say, cart abandoners who have spent a great deal of time on site, or past purchasers, we're going to want to be most aggressive with those. And as we work our way up the funnel in terms of the different targeting methods that we can use, we're going to want to get a little bit less and less aggressive. Now, obviously, as we go on and you start to gather performance data, you can tweak these and adjust these based on the actual performance you're seeing within campaigns. But generally speaking, lower the funnel equals higher bids, upper in the funnel or higher in the funnel equals generally a little bit lower bids. And you definitely want to try out various methods here. Don't kind of relegate yourself to a single portion of the funnel. We tend to focus on the bottom of the funnel for the performance aspect of things, but even within that, as mentioned, there's 5 to 6 different targeting techniques that you can actually use there. And as a pro tip, like I mentioned, we want to kind of cover as much of the funnel as possible, but if you are very, very performance driven, stick to the bottom of the funnel. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can only do remarketing or you can only do custom intent, but again, there are a variety of options out there for you. So to dive a little bit more into custom intent, because we have talked about this a little bit today, and I've said how much I like it, because I really, really do. I wanted to give you guys a couple best practices for how to set this up, the best case for success for you guys. So generally, we'll start off with a branded custom intent type of audience here, and we'll use keywords that do include your brand in there. You can even throw your competitors in there as well, because we know if somebody's searching for your competitor as well, they're going to be looking for products that are very similar to yours. So again, this could be just your brand, your competitor's brand. You're going to want to add in your brand plus your product type, your brand plus common searches that are people doing, and kind of the wider we can cast our net here, the more volume we get this audience and the more Google can optimize this audience. Then we like to get in the non-branded side of things a little bit further up the funnel, but here gives us a really good opportunity to gain net new customers and people that aren't necessarily aware of your brand quite yet. And so a good place to start here would be to leverage your existing top performing keywords, or possibly even keywords like L'Oreal mentioned that might be a little bit kind of out of your budget for on the search side of things, but that you want to still get in front of people who are searching for that for, which is an excellent use case for custom intent in general. And then here at the bottom, don't be nervous to combine audiences. Again, we don't really want to start with the most granular audiences possible when you're kind of combining these types of audiences, as you might, volume might suffer. But as you do start to gather data, go ahead and layer in your custom intent with, say, household income or gender or other demographic modifiers to where you can tweak these bids and really get even more granular with your audiences. Again, I want to just reiterate that we want to kind of work our way towards that, and that's going to be kind of a more advanced optimization, but also a really good way to get super granular with your audiences and get very, very targeted. And again, we advise 200 plus keywords when you're creating these audiences. And I know that sounds like a lot, but there is a really great auto suggest tool, and I'm sure within your accounts you guys do have 200 plus keywords there. And again, they don't need to be super unique keywords, but as long as they're all generally lumped together, we see really, really good results using custom intent. Let me jump to the next slide here. And then lastly, on the creative side of things, I wanted to kind of cover things from two perspectives. Obviously, we know a lot of our retailers or a lot of advertisers, they're not going to have a ton of video campaigns or video creative in place already, and that's something that we hear a lot. So if you are just getting started and you do just have a handful of videos that you can use, maybe they're more brand-oriented videos, we want to urge you guys to do more of a controlled testing approach. So you're going to want to use the same sets of creative across the majority of your ad groups. And so what this allows you to do is actually see, number one, which of these creatives are performing well against your complete audience, and then also which of these creatives are performing well against your individual audience segments that you're breaking out. This method here, again, allows you to evaluate which of your creatives are really driving performance. And you don't need to have a ton of creative to do this either. So don't feel like you need a whole suite or portfolio of videos to take this approach. Now, if you do have a lot more creative at your disposal, we definitely recommend matching the creative with your audience whenever possible. So going back to the example of the retailer that sells men's and women's apparel, we want to match, say, our custom intent or our in-market audience for women's apparel with videos that are highlighting women's apparel items or new releases from your women's line. Same thing with shoes, same thing with men's apparel, or however you're really divvying things up. One really granular way that we like to do this here, and again, kind of depends on how much video content that you actually have, as well as the amount of site traffic that you have. But from the remarketing approach, you can actually target one-to-one people that have seen a particular product on your page to a particular video that you guys may have produced, whether that be an unboxing, a review, or just like a highlight video. And we see really, really good results with that in the remarketing space. Another thing that's unique to TrueView for Action is that we're actually able to test different CTAs. You have 10 characters there, so you can create whatever CTA you want within 10 characters. Not a ton, but you can get creative in there, and we have seen some pretty unique ones. And then you also do have a headline as well that has a handful more characters. So you do get that little bit of creative and that little bit of flexibility in the CTA in your headline there, which also is a great testing opportunity. And just a small pro tip, to keep track of all this, naming convention is huge. I'm sure you guys know this in all of your campaigns, but at very minimum, we like to list out a description of the ad and the CTA variation in the actual name of the ad, so then we can pivot that out later and run reports and actually see what's working well at scale. Here's just a little bit more of a demo or a graphic of what these campaigns could look like. So up here, you'll see a prospecting campaign. This dark blue line is going to be equivalent to your ad groups. And again, you're going to want to do an ad group per actual targeting method or sub-targeting type. And then below here, you'll see your different types of creative below that. Right underneath that, remarketing, you'll see we'll have our cart abandoners, customer match, and then what I was just talking about, the product remarketing. So you'll actually set up a remarketing audience for a single page on site, and then you'll be able to highlight specific products back to those audiences. So just to recap everything that I just covered, the four major components here: campaign, what goal and type, we're going to want to go TrueView for Action, that uses target CPA. Your campaign structure and ad group structure, at the campaign level, you're going to use your top targeting approach. Getting down to ad group, you're going to use your sub-targeting. When it gets down to the actual granular targeting, you want to get as granular as possible and split out as much as you possibly can while keeping volume in mind at all times. And go ahead and get creative here, try different things out. We often see the case where we run audiences or targeting types that we really don't think are going to work well, but oftentimes the results really surprise us and we kind of learn new things about our audiences that we never knew before and new pockets of profitability that we didn't know existed. And then lastly, for your creative, if you don't have a ton of creative, don't be worried about that. Just spread it out across everywhere that you're testing so you can get as much data as possible. If you do have a lot of creative, try to get as granular as you can with matching that creative type with your actual audience. And we see best results with this type of campaign structure. So just saying all this is great, but we do actually do this in practice. Original Grain here is a great example of where we were actually able to see some pretty awesome results, especially against prior YouTube campaign performance that we were running. And Original Grain has been a long-time client of ours. They came to us last year during Q4 or leading into Q4 and said they really wanted to expand the brand. They really wanted to blow the results out of the water from the previous year. We said, okay, they've been doing some YouTube before. And at this point in time, again, last year, Q4, Customer Match as well as YouTube or TrueView for Action were both in beta, and so L'Oreal was gracious enough to get us into these two betas, and we were able to test these out, and we really saw some pretty awesome performance. Now, just as a caveat to the next slide I'm going to show, at first look, these numbers don't look fantastic, but I want you to look at the comparative numbers below them. So we saw fantastic performance on the YouTube channel, particularly with the combination of TrueView for Action and then Custom Intent. We'll see a 0.8% click-through rate, which, as many of you know, if you've ran YouTube in the past, one of the biggest downfalls is it hasn't been great at actually driving people to site. And so this is a 100% increase over YouTube for Shopping, which again is kind of the next best approach to sending people to traffic or to site. And then the click-through rates get really kind of low after that with the other mediums or the other ad formats, just as they are primarily branding. But we do see this nearly 100% increase in click-through rate, which means that for every dollar that we're spending, we're getting twice as many clicks, which is huge for the performance advertiser. Kind of in tandem with this, we see our average CPC go down to or decrease by 66% versus YouTube for shopping. Again, which is huge. We're paying less for each and every click. And then we see this conversion rate here at the end, 0.43, which, if you're comparing things to search or shopping, doesn't seem fantastic, but within a video medium, especially when we're prospecting net new audiences, this is fantastic. And you can see here a 74% increase against our YouTube for shopping medium. So some pretty awesome numbers here, particularly for this combination of TrueView for action and custom intent. And all of this led to really a record-breaking year for Original Grain last year in Q4, $3 million in revenue, $740K in profit. And I can't read that there, but 150, my screen is blanking that out, but a lot of conversions. It was a huge year for them. A lot of this
15K.
15K, okay. My little control was covering it up. Thanks, L'Oreal. But really a breakout year for them. And a lot of what we did then as kind of new and testing out, again, these platforms were in beta last year. They've just become our table stakes and our bread and butter now. So we're continuing to run these YouTube campaigns, continue to see great results with them, and have thus been able to continue to grow and scale. So with that,
do you mind if I add one thing?
Yeah.
So going to the previous slide before the profit numbers, one quick call out I just want to make is we're experiencing a 0.8 conversion rate, or excuse me, a 0.8, almost 1% click-through rate, and then a 0.43 conversion rate. That's pretty high for YouTube in general. So just want to call that out and show how it's driving action. And then the next call out I want to make on the next slide is something else we do at CPC Strategy is measure profit. So what we'll do is use your gross profit margins and then actually add them as a custom column in the Google Ads interface. And then we're able to measure profitability across all channels and then overall account profitability too. So it's something else that we've been doing with CPC Strategies clients, and it's been really useful for people when they have to make the case of why we're investing in YouTube and how it's delivering overall to the accounts and the strategies overall profitability.
Yeah, awesome call outs, L'Oreal. Yeah, the profit approach has really enabled us to scale a lot of advertisers who thought they were kind of at the top end of their ROAS targets and they couldn't, they just couldn't drive more volume with their given efficiency. And it's really, again, enabled us to scale really well and really profitably, which is the most important thing at the end of the day for a lot of our retailers. But yeah, with that, I'll kick it back over to Annalicia to wrap things up.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks, Josh and L'Oreal, for all those insights. So obviously in this webinar, we provided, the basics, the 101 when it comes to direct response YouTube advertising. And we do understand that it's not as simple as it sounds. A lot of factors come into play, good creative, the right campaign and audience, how do you measure your success? And then actually driving profit, as Josh mentioned, is really your end goal, I'm sure, for us all. So yeah, it's overwhelming at times. And, if you feel like after today you do want to speak more towards advanced strategies and more, robust ways of driving profit, and if you need guidance when it comes to creative and production, and if you're wondering, what it's like to work with Google as a partner, what it's like to try all these different ad formats while they're in beta, you can schedule a one-on-one with our experts through this link. I will chat this link out to you all. It's kind of a way to schedule a talk with our experts, kind of walk through YouTube and what CPC can offer with Google AdWords and the display network. And yeah, if you want to just talk more about YouTube. So I know that you guys have sent your Q&As. I've kind of added them all to the queue. And Josh and L'Oreal, I know that you clarified some things along the way. But let's take this time, and everyone, if you haven't sent your questions, now is the time to send them on over and I'll add them to the queue. But why don't we kick it off with a question that came from Graham, I hope I'm saying that right, John, and a lot of other registrants kind of hit on this. So Josh, maybe you can speak to this. L'Oreal, maybe you as well. So once you find success and a return on investment with your YouTube advertising campaign, what are some ways that you can advise on how to then scale that campaign?
Gotcha. That's a great question. Once you've been able to kind of hit a sweet spot of ROI within YouTube, there's a lot of ways that you can look deeper into the existing audiences that you're reaching. And this kind of spoke or speaks to a little bit of what I was talking about earlier, and looking to get more and more granular as you continue on. So say you're just using like a past 30 days site remarketing audience or something like that. You can actually go to the audience insights portion within your shared library and see what proportion or what kind of sub aspects of this audience stand out from a conversion perspective more than others. And then you can actually get more granular and target those. You can add in additional, as I mentioned, demographic, modifiers. You can use the life events. It's the easy part, at least from my perspective, or I should say the hard part, is getting to that initial point of ROI where you feel comfortable and your campaign structure is set. And then it gets a little bit easier to go up funnel because there's a lot of ways to do that on YouTube and on the GDN. And just continuing to leverage things like custom intent, like in market, and just going slowly but surely up the funnel, and then again measuring profitability along the way is kind of the approach that we take here in terms of scaling out profitable YouTube and just profitable marketing campaigns in general.
Great,
Yeah, I think you answered that beautifully. I would recommend too, just starting at the bottom of the funnel and then working our way up with those different targeting options. If you're looking to not only capture your existing customers or website visitors, but if you also want to try to increase brand awareness, that would be another great way to scale.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Hopefully we answered that question for you all. Another question, L'Oreal, you might be more privy to the ins and outs of this one, but with all these privacy changes, Facebook post GDPR world, right? Changing their ad targeting, kind of taking away some sort of segmentations that I don't know if it's behavior based or I forget what changes Facebook has made, but is YouTube revising their guidelines for videos? How does this affect targeting ads on YouTube? Are you guys kind of changing everything in this post GDPR world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of targeting, you're all probably already familiar with our sensitive policy topics. So let me give you a couple of examples. For example, if you are a personal injury lawyer and someone is on your website consuming different information about how they might have had a personal injury and are now seeking out a lawyer, you would not be able to remarket on Google, whether it's on Google display or using remarketing on video. And that's because we want to protect the user and make sure that their private personal information isn't taken advantage of and remarketed to. So that's a process we've had in place for some of these sensitive categories for years. And then the other thing I wanted to add was we have a trust and safety team, and they work around the clock to make sure that we're operating in the best way that's safe for users. So you can Google search that and look up our trust and safety team more, but it's an area that Google is really committed to.
Awesome. Thank you, L'Oreal. Hopefully that answers your question, L'Oreal. I mean, Heather, so you get an idea of how Google is kind of changing their parameters. So now I have a question. Maybe Josh, you can answer this one a little bit better. I know that you were mentioning when you set up, custom intent, when you set up these YouTube campaigns that you recommend using CPA, right? Is there any time that you would recommend using CPV, cost per visitor? Is that just a measurement that that is not facilitated by this kind of format? Do you ever use CPV when it comes to video and YouTube?
Gotcha, great question. And a great point of clarification too. So the target CPA has to be used in combination with TrueView for action. And that's just one of kind of the caveats of that ad format. So that's why we focused on that, because TrueView for action, again, is the biggest performance-based YouTube ad format that is available now. And so we use target CPA for that. If you are using, another type of ad format, whether that be TrueView for shopping or there's quite a few others that are less performance driven, I definitely encourage you to try out different bidding strategies and different bidding methodologies, especially if you do want to get a little bit more granular with that and try those out. We do definitely stand by Google's automated bidding. It makes things a lot easier, and in general, we see better results with it. So from that perspective, there's no kind of downside to using target CPA in our experience. But yeah, that's really only needed when you're using the TrueView for action. And other than that, yeah, we do try out cost per view, target CPM if it's more of like a branded approach, or max CPA. There's a lot of different ways out there. Enhanced CPC kind of at the least. But yeah, definitely encourage you guys to try those out if you're not using the TrueView for action.
Got it. Thank you so much, Armin. Hopefully we answered your question there. So on the same note of TrueView for action, so Mike's wondering, what if you could again clarify what the different types of formats when it comes to TrueView for action, like how the user might see these videos and how these ads might come up. He mentioned here in-stream ads and video discovery. Maybe those are the two formats. I'm not sure if there are any more that you guys can talk on, or if you can define those a little bit better. And then which of these do you see, does one perform better than the other in certain aspects? Is one, clearly a good winner? Or are they both kind of yielding the same conversion rates?
So if I understand, go for it, Laura.
Oh no, go for it, Josh.
I was going to say, if I'm understanding it correctly, what are the different formats available for action?
Yeah, I guess it's a two-part question. That would be the first one, the different formats of TrueView for action.
Let me skip back, if I can skip back in some of these slides. But there's obviously the desktop and mobile variants are going to be a little bit different. But this is basically what it looks like on the mobile side of things. You're going to see that CTA where it says masterclass, that's going to be your actual, you can actually put that into, that's your headline there. And this is what it's going to look like on the mobile platform. And so you're going to see this actual CTA and this little banner ad below the video at all times when it's not maximized. On desktop, as L'Oreal covered, you're going to see this the CTA go over the video and be an overlay while the actual ad is playing, which is a great just way to click through the site. And also you'll get this great companion ad which sticks through as, correct me if I'm wrong, L'Oreal, you said, all the way through that video and as people continue to surf YouTube as well. And then after the video, you'll also get this almost full screen CTA, which is going to just cover up the screen after the video and before the actual video plays. And so that's where that's where the TrueView for action, all of those formats serve. And really that's kind of covers almost everywhere you could possibly kind of have a call to action. And again, that's kind of what has led to it driving such fantastic results for us. Second, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done there. I'll chime in when you're done.
I'm all set.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to take this question from a different angle. So I think the original question was, what are the different formats for TrueView for action, in-stream versus discovery? So I think we're talking about two different things here. So TrueView for action, which is what Josh just reviewed, is one of our in-stream formats. So again, that's if a video is playing and you see an ad in between videos and you have the option to skip the ad. What TrueView discovery are if you're on youtube.com and you're searching for something and an ad appears as the search results would if you're on Google search, that is a discovery ad. So in terms of what you would pay for, it's just like Google search, where if you click on it and view the ad, you pay for the click. In terms of which, the last question of that three-part question was in terms of which performs better. They pretty much have different use cases. One is a little bit more of a, as the name says, a discovery tool. So if you have very limited budget and you just want to start with the most direct response formats, I would start with TrueView for action. And then if you have extra budget too, I would use bumper ads, which is our 6-second non-skippable ad format, in conjunction to use remarketing.
Got it. And then I think you touched on this, Josh, the CTA. so that overlay kind of stays throughout. I'm guessing this is a question that just came in from Fraser while we're kind of dissecting these different formats. From my understanding, you can just click on the ad the entire time it's running, right? And that'll direct you back to the page?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Hopefully Thomas and Mike, Fraser, that covered everything. Let us know if you need some more clarification there. So L'Oreal, I have a question for you coming in from Thomas. So you mentioned something about video ads editing team at Google. If you can kind of go into that, maybe how that touches on your YouTube ads and how advertisers here tuning in would, what kind of relationship they'd have from video ads editing team, or what they can expect from this sort of team that you guys have at Google.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I mentioned this in the beginning, and I don't know if any of you guys saw the slides. Maybe we can go back to it just so people have the visual reference at the very beginning. Let me try going to slide 3, maybe. Okay, 1 more. 2 more. Okay, great. So here's the visual in case you missed it. So what this question is about is our video ads editing team. So this is a free service we provide for our CPC strategy clients. If you're with them, you have access to this team that'll take your existing video ads that you've made it and are ready to launch. And then we actually have our team edit them so they're more performance focused. So that way you have a second set of eyes and you feel more confident bringing your videos to life on YouTube, and you've had our team at Google actually help edit them in a way that's more compelling. Some of the use cases we see are if you want to edit a long video, let's say it's a 30-second ad down to a 15-second in-stream ad or a 6-second bumper ad. Or if you want to, as we mentioned, how important it is to have the hook at the beginning of the video. If you want to have, a high-res logo added on top in one of your corners in the video so people see your brand present throughout. Those are the 2 most common requests that I get in working with this video ads editing team.
I see.
And yeah, this is a huge value add too for our clients, and that, again, a lot of kind of pushback that we hear. A lot of times people say, hey, either I don't have video, or the video I have, it's long form, it doesn't look good, it's not, direct response oriented. And again, being able to have access to the Google team like this and being able to put together an ad that is going to look good and is going to perform on YouTube is huge.
Yeah, I'm sure those Airbnb ones looked really great. So I'm not familiar with the original grain, but I'm sure those look great as well. I'll go check them out now. So a couple questions when it comes to what's in beta and what's new and what's not. So Robert's asking, custom intent, is that still in beta? And I assume not. Right now, any advertiser can use custom intent when it comes to the YouTube world.
Yes, that's a great clarification question. So custom intent launched available for every advertiser. I believe it was in April or May on Google Display Network. What is new is on YouTube, it launched just within the past 2 weeks. This used to be a closed private beta. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, yes.
If it launched as a open beta on YouTube 2 weeks ago. So okay. Yes, this is available for everyone, and definitely want to utilize CPC Strategy's best practices for utilizing the strategy.
For sure.
You do have to use the new AdWords UI, correct? If anybody hasn't switched over.
Yes, that's a good call out.
That's a good point. Yeah, for sure. And then another question here from Adam is, how can you access YouTube video experiments? Is this still in beta, or is this something that we can all access now?
That's a great question too. So this is a beta, but it's not publicly available. It's only available if you have access to a Google rep. So in the case for BrandLift and the case for video experiments, you need a Google rep to set this up internally for you. And the way you would access this would be through CPC Strategy, working with them, that would give you access.
Got Got it. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have here. I think we're pretty much done. I don't know what are the best. So it might not pertain necessarily to, I guess your answer might be TrueView, but what are the best YouTube ads you can recommend, maybe TrueView or besides TrueView for action, for e-commerce when you're getting someone to make sales or landing someone to an e-commerce page? What are the best ad formats that you would suggest for YouTube? TrueView for action.
TrueView for action, number one for sure. And then number two, I would say TrueView shopping ads. They also come with an accompanying banner, which kind of looks like a remarketing ad, and it's a multi-product type of ad unit, and that also stays below the video. And again, even that compared to the non-shopping or non-for action ad formats, we see huge lifts in CTR and actually driving people to site. So those would definitely be my top two for somebody that's a retailer in the e-com space and actually selling things and trying to drive online purchases.
Yeah, and something else I would add if you want to differentiate beyond that, say you're a retailer and you have an upcoming product launch, you might want to leverage our bumper ads to create hype. These are our short 6-second non-skippable ads. And these have been proven to be really effective. In fact, they capture 80%, or they capture attention compared to a social media ad within only 6 seconds versus what it would take to capture people's attention for a social media ad with 30 seconds. So even though it's short, it's effective. And I often see advertisers use this for upcoming product launches. Maybe they have a new website and they want to drive users to their new rebranded website. And lastly, another use case for this is remarketing. And in terms of, I think there was also a question about the best ads in general, and maybe it was this person was just asking about formats. But if you want some inspiration, you can just quickly search best YouTube ads, and you'll see things like the 10 most watched YouTube ads of 2017. 13 amazing YouTube pre-roll ads that last just 6 seconds. That means our bumper ad. And then we also shared on our Think with Google website 4 trends from the best YouTube ads of 2017. So if you're thinking about creative for the first time, I encourage you to look for those, get inspired, and hopefully that can be a good starting point for you.
Great, good idea. Thank you, L'Oreal. So I have a question. I know pricing is, it's a big one. Everyone has their ad spend and everyone wants to, maximize their return on investment with every kind of advertising platform that they choose, right? So Morgan has a question. I don't know, I'm sure it's dependent on, every client, and I'm not sure what else, but if there's just a broad pricing difference that you guys can break down when it comes between TrueView for action and any other video advertisements on YouTube, or is it pretty much the same for any type of advertisement on YouTube?
Yeah, I would say
go ahead, Josh.
The beauty of it is that you can spend as much or as little as you want across any of the ad formats and any way that you're going to target on YouTube. If you're looking for you're prospecting net new audiences, to be able to really accurately measure that lift, you do have to spend a little bit more to gather more data and get your ads and your brand and your image in front of a lot more eyeballs. But from a remarketing perspective, you can really start with not a ton of money, and then just kind of let performance be your guide, and just kind of let your KPIs be your guide.
Okay, cool. Great. So hopefully, I know a lot of you had that similar question. Hopefully that gives you some insight when it comes to your budgeting and your plan. And I know that there's some questions that we did not get to. Feel free to email me. You can do webinars@cbcstrategy.com, or you can do Annalicia@cbcstrategy.com. And I'll make sure to relay those questions and make sure that you guys get an answer. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you both for that lightning round of Q&A. I think that's the longest Q&A round that I've had here hosting webinars. So thank you to you both. And also thank you to our guests attending today's webinar. We understand that an hour of your time is really valuable, and we're very happy that you spent it here with us, and we hope that we gave you a lot of value and insight when it came to YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in, And this is Analicia signing off from CPC Strategy in San Diego.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, L'Oreal.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye, everyone.